Do you have to be a good person to make good art? Is your art supposed to be a reflection of your moral character? I think art can be a helpful initial way to examine things we're afraid of. And usually stuff we're afraid of, inside or outside ourselves, it's usually not the good stuff that scares us. To me, the best art is the stuff that deals with things that tend to make you cynical and bitter. Look at the shows we watch on TV or, films. We don't get attached to perfect characters. We obsess over people with flaws who do terrible things to each other. And, you let the actors explore those characters without assuming that's what they're like in their normal lives. People don't confuse actors with what they portray on stage or on screen. We watch MMA fighters pummel the crap out of each other. You like my pummeling? Do I look like I could pummel someone? But we watch MMA fighters pummel the crap out of each other. What's that about? What aspect of humanity is that exploring in a controlled way? People don't consider fighters to be horrible people after they nearly kill each other in an arena, As long as they abide by the rules, fight fair. There are still some rules, you can't go completely batshit crazy in there. You gotta play by the rules. I don't know, just audiences don't have much tolerance for nuance and subtlety when it comes to stand-up in a lot of ways, And they've been trained to be that way because, bizarrely, it's been deemed perfectly acceptable for journalists to, rip whatever a comedian says out of context and report it, as factual proof of what a disgusting, reprehensible human being this comedian is for saying what they said. I don't know. We accept making movies and writing novels and plays about very taboo subjects. We understand that engaging with those ideas does not have to be interpreted literally. But somehow, we frequently forget this in stand-up, And I don't know, maybe it's lack of respect for the art form. Maybe it's the fact that, the performance is more immediate and there's just one person, standing in front of you. So it's easy to confuse the person for the art. But I don't know, people completely conflate ideas being explored on stage with the exact opinions of the performer. And that is so crazy. It's such a failure to understand the art, And people worry about safe spaces, and that is fine and valid to some extent. If you're actively being traumatized and you're depressed and anxious, yeah, we probably shouldn't be stressing you out more and making your life worse, right? Go hang out in a safe space, get healthy, focus on you and taking care of yourself. That's important. That's genuinely important. 100%. You need to take care of yourself. You don't need to be burdened by other people's crap while you're struggling in some basic ways with your health or your mental health, However, caveat, asterisk, as a society, maybe not you as an individual at this very moment, but as a society, we need spaces for controversy. We need spaces for disagreement about good and bad, right and wrong, because people don't agree about stuff. As if I needed to tell you that. People need spaces to disagree about stuff in non-violent ways, with words, with thoughts. Thoughts and words that don't agree with each other need to be able to mix together and get sorted out and played around with, And I like artistic spaces for that purpose. I think they're better at it than overtly political spaces. I think our political spaces are a mess, and it's frustrating that it's also bleeding over into artistic spaces. I think art is about pushing us beyond our current cultural constructs. Art is on the leading edge of thought. If it's any good, right? If it's art of any significant quality, it's wrestling with ideas in ways that you'll never hear articulated on the news or on Twitter, right? there's more latitude for experimentation with norms in art, right? Including ethical norms. A lot of people don't like that, but we need a space for that to happen. Art doesn't have to be an expression of sincere, deeply held beliefs. It can be a sincere exploration and examination of beliefs. Those are not the same thing, right? Art can be this open-ended journey of the questioning. It doesn't have to have the answers. It doesn't have to have a perfectly articulated thesis statement that sums it all up and proves how right you are. That's not what art is about. That's not what stand-up comedy is about. If you think that's what stand-up's about, you don't really understand it. I'm planting my flag pretty firmly there. Come at me if you want to, It's a weird time to be doing stand-up. I've never had any issues personally with anyone having a real problem with anything I've said on stage. I've never been the center of any controversy. I've never had any confrontations. But it is so strange to me the way people react to stand-up compared to how we react to other art forms, Part of it is that some people do use jokes, as a way to cloak saying something mean or shitty about another person or group of people. 100%, that happens. But I would also never defend that as good art. Art can also be low quality, right? I would say it's something you do have to allow because making good art requires going through a process of making bad art. No matter what the art form, you have to accept that a lot of bad art is going to exist if you want the good stuff, that little juicy nugget of fantastic, right? That's what we're all looking for. Also, lots of comics aren't perfect people in their actual lives, myself included. Comedians, we're flawed people. We do bad things, just like every one of you watching this video. Human beings, we aren't good. It's very strange to me that we expect artists to be less flawed than the rest of us. Like, as far as I can tell, everybody's a mess, But I don't know, maybe I haven't met the right people. Maybe there's good people out there I don't know about. But that whole people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones saying comes to mind, right? Glass house. If you live in a glass house, don't throw a stone. I think we all live in a glass house. That's my opinion. Part of the problem is, admittedly, some celebrities try to cultivate an image of moral superiority. So that does set them up for failure when their flaws are inevitably exposed at some point, And no question, some artists' moral lapses are significantly more extreme than others. I'm not defending anyone or excusing anyone's morally indefensible actions, all right? It's not that I don't believe ethical norms are valuable. They're critical for a functional society. You have to have ethical norms. There's no question, being a great artist doesn't give you any extra permission to behave horribly toward others or violate their dignity. You have no extra latitude in that area. Of course not. It's just interesting to me that we tie the person so intimately to the art they create. And there's this idea that the art and what it was expressing is invalidated by the moral failings of the artist. Because, art in the first place doesn't seem to me to be something that is ethical or needs to be ethical in order to say something valuable or, be insightful. I see art as a reflection of the human condition, and I don't think human beings are purely good. Who thinks that? I think that there are lots of awful and troubling things about us, again, myself included. I'm not a good person, I'm not a bad person. I'm a person. I'm a persona. And I think art should reflect that. If it doesn't, then it's going to be somewhat dishonest. It's going to be missing something. There's going to be a disconnect. Maybe that's the prime virtue of good art, honesty. Maybe that should be the artist's ethical code. Be honest and authentic in expressing yourself. The good bits and the bad bits.